Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to the JRC in a moment. First, brief disclaimer. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign, you will find pertinent links right there in the description box. Should you like to do a deep dive, you should be able to go ahead and do so. Trigger warnings. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity. And when we speak about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. So, if you have kids who watch the channel that are 16 and younger, parental supervision very much advised, alright? Alright, let's see what Derek has to say. And it's a little bit of a long one too, so we're going to bust it up a little bit. This is going to be famous last words, I know, a relatively short video. Derek says, I would like to see investment in treatments, especially non-drug based, and strategies for calming extreme internal sensations, emotions experienced by autistic people. Evenly dampening external sensing for autism-specific perpetual sensitivities, as well as preventing and managing autistic-specific social anxiety, insomnia, burnout, etc. Honey, a lot of the treatment programs out there, at least the ones I'm familiar with, already work on that, but the external, I too would like a pill that would make my sensory issues to go away, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon. And a lot of the things you're talking about has a lot to do with the environment that you're in when those things are occurring. So when you're talking about perpetual sensitivities that we have, I know you don't like the answer, but some of it you just have to avoid. Okay, we gotta realize our sensory is never going to be like neurotypicals. It's just never going to happen. So we can only accommodate as much as we can. As far as that social anxiety, honey, no pill's ever going to help with that. Not even the one I'm on. It doesn't help with the social anxiety and the things that come with it. The things that would help reduce that is trying to make at least your world that you orbit in your environment as autistic friendly as humanly possible. So yes, it will require perhaps some noise canceling headphones. It may require maybe wearing a weighted vest here once in a while, you know? But burnout is due to massive societal pressure that lands on us like a giant Acme anvil from the very second we first get our diagnosis. It's not something that, like, once you're in burnout, you're in burnout. It's just how it is. I would like to see research if there would be anything that we could do in that area. I know person-centered planning works on it. We rely heavily within that treatment frame on assistive devices when necessary, trying to avoid the sensory triggers when humanly possible. And, of course, I try to logic my way out. It doesn't always work, but it works more often than it doesn't. Yeah, let's continue here. I would like to see investment in making public spaces, likely through building codes and licensure, more accessible to autistic people, in particular by controlling for sound and light pollution. That would be nice. But we've got to remember, folks, we live in a neurotypical world. Even with the increase in those of us getting diagnosed, they're still the majority. And unfortunately for us, a good majority of them feel resentful about thinking they have to change everything for us. There's tension there, right? So, assistive devices to help handle that noise pollution, such as noise-canceling headphones, has been the alternative. But we shouldn't have to do that. I know. And it's not okay. But we also got to function in the world that we live in right now. We got to understand how these people are so that we can do what we can for ourselves to help minimize that as much as humanly possible. Trying to say you can't rely on, you get what I'm saying. I'm going to get myself in trouble. What else is new? As an example, restaurants and cafes with only hard surfaces, which are easier to clean, so this is very common, and little to no soundproofing or sound absorption, create a hurricane of acoustic waves that make these places of business uninterable for many autistics. I have met autistics like that. Again, I've had them comment on the channel before, like, not too long after I first began on YouTube. So I understand that, and I understand that you might feel a little bit of resentment that you have to wear the noise-canceling headphones. I get it. I really do, and yes, I do hope they start thinking a little bit more about how sound carries in restaurants, because believe me, it's not just us neurodivergent folk who have commented on that. But in the meantime, noise-canceling headphones. I know I harp on it a lot, but it helps a great deal. Let me continue here. When there are open kitchens, it is much worse. The same happens with large windows and white, bright walls and ceilings. A hurricane of electromagnetic radiation that feels like walking into the light. I've never really experienced that part of my sensory issues. No, mine's more along the I can't handle fluorescent lighting. And the horrific sound of metal pans falling on tiled porcelain floor really does feel like somebody has shoved an ice pick through my skull, through my brain, and it's coming out the bottom of my chin here. That's what that feels like. But I could see where you would definitely like some research to go into. There's a type of building that could help not make that sound so cavernous, so echoing, like you're in the middle of a gymnasium somewhere. So, very interesting point. He says, next, I would like to see investment in syntactical lexical patterns and for structuring of government forms and websites to be more accessible to autistic people so that they're easier for us to use when they are inevitably written and maintained by people who are neurocognitively dissimilar to us. What type of government forms are you having issues with, hon? And how would you like them to be structured? I ask this because I learned later in my advocacy career than I ever would have liked, and it's kind of extremely embarrassing. You gotta go into more detail for the neurotypical folk. So, what they're gonna want to ask, okay, what is it about government forms and websites that you're having difficulties with? They need details. Right? They can't fix what they don't know is broken. Right? So, yeah, reach out to your local folks. But when you mention having issues with those websites and with those forms, make sure you kind of detail out what it is that you're running into that is giving you such difficulty, so that they know what they're looking at in regards to what they need to fix. And also maybe give them some suggestions on how it would be better formulated to better assist you in getting the information completed that whatever form may be asking for. Right? And if they could do that for tax documentation, that would be fantastic, because, yeah, that would be great. Alright, folks. It looks like that he's got a little bit more to say, but we're going to go ahead and come back to that tomorrow. For now, we are just going to go ahead and close out. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So if you all would be so kind, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments, and make sure that you're still set up to receive notifications. I don't want you missing any episodes of the Down the Rabbit Hole series or the Snake Oil Salesman series. I do appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do. Hope you have a good one. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye now.